it's a really short lecture today, and then we can kind of go around and share more information about ourselves, and then we'll do the competition probably in the last 40 minutes or so. So this lecture is designed to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up, sort of a framing the whole class, kind of what's engineering about and what the class kind of covers. So we'll talk a little bit about what engineering is, and we'll just kind of go around and have a chance to kind of introduce yourselves and your interests, and then we're going to do the tower challenge. So the first question, and I should get my pen here, and it's a nice question to just sort of throw out there. You signed up for this class looking for something, and maybe you kind of got an idea what that is just by what I've said so far. But what brought you to the class? What do you guys hope to get out of the class? Can you just throw out, anyone just want to throw out anything while you're here? Yep.
I've already done the math and science requirements, and I saw that I only needed to do 3 classes in the engineering category to get the associates.
Huh, okay.
So throw that in there too.
That's great. The associate's degree. So you were actually just interested in math and science and didn't know much about engineering?
I didn't know much about like the major itself, but I wanted to take the class anyways.
So you found you like math and science.
Yeah.
And have you declared a major of math or science?
No.
Okay.
I am a software. Plan on transferring to software engineering in the spring.
Okay.
Next fall.
Okay. Okay, that sounds cool. So while you're on the way, then you just take an engineering class, and yeah, great. Who else? Yeah.
I wanted to see if I enjoyed engineering.
If you like it, yeah. Sure. So a sense of if it's right for you, right? Oops. Oh, I missed the first cartoon, yeah. That's a good one, right? These are the manual, reading the manual after you make a big mess. That's typical. Engineers do that too. So basically, if it's a good fit, or if it matches your interest. Good fit or interest. What else? Mm-hmm. What do they do? Yeah. Okay.
And good idea of the different fields.
Okay. So yeah. So maybe you want to do that because you want to be able to pick the field for you, right? Because engineering is pretty broad, and you want to know, well, it's not just engineering. Should you be civil or mechanical or whatever, right? What are you more suited for? What actually is your preference? A lot of people actually make that decision. Okay, what else? Any other thoughts people have? All right, well, that's fair enough, and we are going to cover all those things. And the other thing that I think is sort of built into the class that maybe you're not really thinking that's why you want to be here, but we are going to cover that a lot, which is how to succeed. Why do you think that's a big part of this class? Yeah.
Well, a lot of people see the end goal and they're afraid to take the next step after, say, failing a question or not knowing what next to do.
Yeah. It's a really intimidating subject area because it's so broad and there's just so many smart people and they make you feel like you don't know anything, and and it's just, yeah, and everyone has to kind of go through that to be able to be successful, and you're gonna have to kind of just, you know, keep moving forward, keep growing, keep working, and we're kind of we're gonna look a lot at kind of strategies for doing that. Engineering is a field with a fairly high attrition rate, and we want to help reduce that so more people can stay in the field, because it is a really worthwhile field that really opens up, like I said, a lot of possibilities for you, both inside and outside of engineering. So the general purpose of the course is to enhance your success as a person and as an engineering student. Some of these things will apply to just your life in general, and some of them will apply to strategies you can use to become successful in engineering, and to help you decide which major to pursue. Sitting here right now, I don't know. I definitely, you know, can kind of recall my own education, just feeling an urge to grow and stuff. And I don't know if you feel that. You don't have to answer this, but it is a sensitive thing to actually know that you want to become something else than what you currently are now. You know, and that process of how you do that is something that, you know, we don't normally get to talk about in the actual engineering classes where you learn like different engineering subjects like circuits or MATLAB or something. We never really talk about those things. So this is the class that you can actually sort of think about that. What do I have to do how am I going to have to change to be successful? You know, what is that going to look like farther down the road? This is a process. If you're depending on where you are, some people, actually, here's a good question. How many people are actually transferring out next fall? They already know they're going to be moving on out. Yeah, so you've taken a lot of classes already, and good. And everybody else, you're kind of just starting out. Then that's actually good. Usually, a lot of people kind of wait until the very end to take this class, but depending on where you're at in like the math sequence, you know, this could be a 5-6 year. Some people take longer process to get the bachelor's degree, and you know, it's something you want to make sure you're committed for, and that it actually is something that's going to work for you, and then figure out how you're going to have to change to make it work. So you might think about, what do you want to change about yourself in this course? And what we're trying to do is, you know, give that knowledge that will allow you to go off and go on and be successful. You know, so that's a cliche, but you know, we're hoping to provide you these strategies. And some of these things are just how you're going to study, you know, your subjects. How do you actually best study your subjects to kind of get the most out of the class. We're going to be talking about a lot of these things that you can then apply to your classes. You'll be in a class right now that's probably going to be really hard if you are actually doing any other engineering, pre-engineering classes. Calculus, in particular, is a really challenging class. We'll be giving you some study techniques that you can use to apply in those classes. You can try them out and just sort of see if they work for you. But yeah, there are things you learn as you know, on the way of becoming an engineer. For instance, like time management is just so important to be an engineer. So you learn how to be effective in how you use your time. And you know, it takes a while to figure that stuff out, but then once you learn that, you become really, really valuable for businesses and firms and other places to hire. So the Academic Success Project will then kind of help you figure out how to put all those pieces together. So yeah, and we're talking about the beginning of the class. So what do you do in the beginning? You kind of you want to get a good start in all your classes. You want to kind of just jump in and start working extremely quickly on stuff. You've probably already got homework in your other classes. You want to dive into those and get going as quickly as you can. So the syllabus requires participation. This should say Canvas. Check the Canvas page frequently. I am not as strict as some of these things. I encourage you to bring a notebook and a textbook, your textbook to the class. We are going to be having discussions from the textbook, so that will be very useful. And your notebook, actually, you really should have a notebook, just because there's going to be a lot of stuff where we're going to be doing activities in class, you're doing some design work in class, and a notebook is just a great place to kind of hold all that stuff together. I still have notebooks that I kind of carry around with me all the time. I don't know if I have any with me right now. But just for kind of working out your ideas and holding everything in one place, they're just really, really valuable. As we look at the subject as at the grading criteria, again, these are the different ratios of the points. And the assignment, this date is wrong, so what's next Tuesday? Next Tuesday is the 29th, right? So you want to read these before the 29th. These are going to be linked for you on the on Canvas. You can kind of check up on that later. So yeah, we're going to start talking about some of these things. And so reading chapter 1 of the textbook. And the Mindset of a Champion is a great article. And there's a bit of a writing assignment that goes with that. And then the lab this Thursday will be covering the use of Microsoft Excel. Yeah, we're going to just jump right into an Excel lab. All right, so a little bit about where engineering falls in the big scheme of things. So when you look out into the world, and before humans got too advanced, they always pretty much had these sort of natural things. And there are subject areas that cover the study of these natural things, and these are the sciences. So chemistry, physics, geology, biology. They're actually looking at nature and trying to figure out how it actually works, what it's made of, how things kind of arose and got to be the way they are. And then you look at the human sphere, and you see all of these artificial things which are made by humans. We are natural things as well, but the stuff that we make is quite a bit different than the stuff that sort of appears naturally in the environment. So the things we leave behind are artifacts. They can also be processes, events, services, and this is sort of what what people actually do and create. And engineering is kind of about creating these artifacts, these things that make our lives a little bit easier or serve various needs. So science, again, if you're interested in science as a major, what distinguishes somebody? How would you know if you want to be a scientist or an engineer? When I was in high school, I didn't know anything about engineering. Nobody talks about engineering in high school. So I figured I'd be a physicist or something. That's all I knew. It was pretty cool, and I always liked science. But then, I was kind of really more interested in some of these artifacts. When I went to college, I was like, it was at the start of the personal computer revolution. I was like really fascinated by how those things actually worked, and it's sort of a science of that. But I decided to kind of study these artificial objects, computers, and engineering, electrical engineering, which was underlying, how those things actually work. So engineers, they look at applying technology in concert with the natural phenomena. So they have to learn the science behind these things. And the purpose of it is to produce the things that society needs or wants. And they also try to figure out, what form should we give to this thing so that it will serve its purpose. And this was like from a couple of years ago, the New Horizons went by Pluto. And you can ask yourself, these missions to the planets and stuff, are they science missions or engineering missions? What do you think? What's the latest? Is there another probe going on? What's the latest in space these days? Is there a Europa probe now? Yeah, I kind of lost track. I used to work at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and I'm like, I got to pull up their website and see what they're doing. I think Voyager has gone past or I don't know, I think they're outside the solar system now, at least one of them. So that's kind of cool. There was an article about that a few weeks ago. Are these science missions or engineering missions? kind of seems like the main focus is science, yeah. But then sometimes there's engineering involved too, and it's sort of a mix of both. Engineers get to work on these missions, and so do the scientists. The scientists actually get to look at the data that comes back. The engineers are all about, well, how do we actually steer this thing? This is actually like a vehicle flying through space. How does this thing actually run? How do people actually make sure it works properly and stays alive and everything? That's all engineering. And again, engineering is like this interface between science and society. That's a great way to think of it too. Science doesn't really care about humans very much. It's really kind of cold and dry, and I mean, it's interesting, but it's not really a humanistic. It's not focused on, unless it's like science, like social science or something like that, which some people say is not really a science. But don't tell them I said that. But a lot of science is really, very abstract and just kind of dry and stuff, very high-level things. Sometimes it doesn't really seem like it's going to have a big impact on life. But engineers actually find ways of applying what they learn in science to making things that actually work better, make society work better. So what does society actually need? What are some of these things that society needs that engineers are kind of called upon to provide? What does society need? What do we need as a society? Roads and bridges, yep. A lot of infrastructure there. What else? Energy, yep. What else does society need? Sorry? Resources. Yep. What else? Comfort. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Comfort. A lot of our devices are for comfort. What else? Productivity. We need efficiency, yep. There's some huge needs in society that you haven't mentioned yet. About like entertainment. Apparently we're very bored, right? Because we spend a lot of money on entertainment. Games and video games and gadgets and everything. I can't really write on this thing very well. What about, what else does society need? Food, yeah, that's kind of huge. Forgot about that. Oops. What about health? What about security? Sorry? Education, yeah. Seems like we kind of like knowledge, too. How about, a healthy environment, right? All these things. And all these things are kind of covered by different fields of engineering, Roads and bridges, that's civil. Resources, maybe that's, there is like a mining engineering field, I think, you can kind of major in. Comfort stuff, I guess that would sort of be whatever. It's, product design is sort of a field that covers a lot of different engineering fields, but mechanical could be, or electronic, whatever. Yeah, so those are some of the things that engineers actually get to work on, right? So whatever you find compelling, maybe you're just really interested in the environment, or you just love, or fascinated about the physics of how energy works. And, those things can kind of lead you to the field that you want to study just by thinking about, what kind of turns you on in terms of what society needs, which one of these things you find the most interesting. But then, once you get your engineering degree, there's really no limit to what you can actually do. So after you get your engineering degree, you can become, you can join, you can start your own company, you can join large corporations, you can end up in, very high levels of management. You can be in courtrooms. People get legal degrees after they get their engineering degrees. Factories, startups, consulting firms. You can work for the government. You can do research. You can do construction site stuff. You can work on farms. A lot of ag technology going on, robotics on the farms these days. It's a really fascinating field. Offshore oil platforms. You like to kind of get off in the middle of nowhere. Space, military, Hollywood. Yeah, so many different things. I had a friend who went and after his engineering degree, I think he majored in chemical engineering, and he just went into patent law. So it was a very lucrative patent lawyer. That's like a really big field, really, high-paying field. You got to go to law school. That's not terribly easy either after your engineering degree. But there's just so many things you can do. People go into med school after engineering school. Another friend went to med school after his engineering degree and became an emergency room doctor. And kind of has these ideas for inventions that will kind of help his work in the emergency room. So you kind of do some inventing on the side, product development as well. Yeah, so many things you can do. Another group of people I know went straight into like finance with their engineering degree. Finance. Because they were people, when I was graduating, finance firms needed people that could work with numbers. And engineers were like, they just do that all the time. So they grabbed them for that. And then they became venture capitalists or, high-level corporate executives. So, what engineers actually do is quite a bit different than what the field is all about. So if you think you want to be an actor, or a director or a producer, well, how would it help to have an engineering degree? Well, I don't know, but, it happens that a lot of people do have an engineering degree in Hollywood. And it just, engineers are problem solvers, and, certainly there's a lot of problems in Hollywood that have to be solved. Good at using technology. There's a lot of that in Hollywood. So, you learn a lot of skills that can be applied in a lot of different areas. You're just very versatile once you get an engineering degree. So, the definition of engineering, what is engineering about? Well, it's about designing and building things, and the art and science of making practical application of the sciences, mathematics, and so on. And it does say art. And the other part about engineering is that there's not like just one right answer. There's a sort of an aesthetic aspect of engineering. The more successful engineering products have an aesthetic dimension to them. So engineering will let you kind of go into a lot of related fields that kind of relate to developing things. It is also a way of thinking, solving multi-parameter problems using mathematics, science, and technology as tools. And and there's constraints implied by society or resources and so on. And yeah, so a lot of it's about inventing new stuff, new devices, materials. All these things are kind of part of engineering. Oops. Measuring and estimation. Sometimes you have to kind of figure out, what's going on in some system and how you can understand the statistics of the measurements that you make. Good engineering questions. What about approximation? Sometimes, the physics of a problem are just too complicated, so engineers are really good at just approximating things, just kind of getting, comfortable with how numbers work and how the quantities are involved. Another really cool thing about engineering is modeling and simulation. We're going to be doing a little bit of that too. If you want to prove that an idea is going to work properly, you can build a model and verify it in a smaller environment and see, how it actually works. Airplane wind tunnels. This truck is in a wind tunnel, kind of looking at the airflow around that truck, which would relate to its fuel efficiency. And then a lot of what engineers do is just communicating. What's interesting about engineers, and a lot of people go into engineering because they want to make stuff. And yeah, that's a big part of engineering. But what engineers often do more than making stuff with their hands is they do like the design work. They actually design the stuff that then other people make. And the people that usually make the engineers' products are specially trained in the fabrication of things. And they do really good jobs like that, but they don't also often really know so much about like the math and science behind what they're actually making. But they're really good. And you know what? It's sort of like in the old days, you know, there were these artisans like blacksmiths and you know, people that would actually make furniture really nice. You know, they were just really good at those kind of things. And you don't really need a lot of engineering know-how to do that, but they're really good working with their hands. And we have a place for people like that in society as well. The engineers are kind of generally, because they're working at really, you know, they're reaching to like really high level abstract stuff, and then they're actually figuring out how to actually put this into some physical form. But the technicians are usually the people that actually work with those kind of, you know, producing the physical form stuff from the engineering specifications. A lot of times when engineers get their hands on stuff, they break it because they're just like, you know, they like to break it sometimes just kind of see how it actually works, and sometimes they just don't understand the way of artisans actually think. But if there are technology fields you can go into as well, if you try to go into engineering and you find that you're not that interested in the really abstract stuff that you need to be an engineer, you can actually do more hands-on stuff in a technology field that's closely related to engineering. But what I was actually getting to with this slide is that you know, these engineers are often communicating in groups of people, like what their design ideas are, the products that they're creating, or you know, manuals for the things that they're making. So there's a lot of communication in engineering as well. There's also a need for engineers to be persuasive and working in subject areas that may have political or social implications, and they have to kind of be aware of these things, the societal constraints, so that they don't do something that's like ethically, you know, not good. There's also a lot about working with money. So all the things that go into businesses, there's a whole aspect of that in engineering. So learning how to manage your money and allocate it properly is another part of engineering. There is also an aesthetic part, which is very cool. You know, a lot of the engineering products are just super sexy and elegant in some ways, like this bridge. Some of these bridge designs are just so graceful, and a lot of that is just embedded in the design process. This bridge could have been designed any number of different ways, but somebody, hi there, here for engineering? Oh, that's okay. I'm glad you made it. Can you tell us your name? Alonso Reles. Yeah, good. Gotcha. No problem. So, and you know, MPC is a really interesting school because we have a really great art department, and you might decide to take art as a way of developing an aesthetic sense when you maybe develop your products. You kind of noticed we are in the art, this room is in the art part of campus. Most of the engineering stuff is on the other side. That's why you got lost. We're kind of in a weird place. There's an art gallery right there. There's printing areas, ceramics. There's sculpture and stuff is that way. And there's a really cool class at MPC that if you really want to learn how to make stuff using technology, it's called 3D Art and Technology. And I got to tell you, they have some really amazing stuff there. They have like a whole bunch of 3D printers. They got laser scanners, and they've got some tools to kind of convert stuff from one form to another. You can make something in clay. You can scan it, and then you can like modify it in software, and then you can print it out with a 3D printer. And the tools and stuff, you know, these are all things that engineers develop, and the tools for developing new things are just getting more and more awesome too. And so that's something, I don't know if there's any room in it, but if you're interested, it is, we actually may take a tour over there at some point because it's just such a cool class. And actually, I think it meets Monday, Wednesday afternoons, so I wasn't able to be in there this semester, but it's called Art D7, and you should put it on your on a class that you might want to take someday, just because it is pretty cool. I'm also good friends with the teacher, and they got this amazing product. Someone donated some software to them, which this may not, if you haven't learned much about like CAD software, this might not be too impressive. But after you do a little bit more, there is Art Dimensional, Art D7A, 3D Arts and Technology. Yeah, it's Monday, Wednesday, 1 to 4. A lot of times the engineering classes have labs and stuff around those times, so it can be hard to take. But sometimes they offer this in the evening, like maybe in the spring it'll be in the evening. And it includes such topics as laser cutting, 3D scanning, post-scan options, and 3D printing and input and output methods. And they got this great product. It was like a $20,000 piece of software. I forget what it's called, but basically the idea is like if you can scan something and it will create like a SolidWorks file of it, of all the design parameters, which you can then like modify and change it. So like he said, actually, what's interesting is you can like if you have something that has like a broken piece of metal or something, or like a part from a car that got broke or bent or damaged, you can scan it, and then it'll turn into a SolidWorks file. You can edit out the damage, and then print a new copy of it in its original form, just by using all this software stuff. It's pretty amazing, and it just gets more and more impressive every year. They're getting more and more stuff in there. It's just really cool. So we'll take a walk over there maybe sometime later, just to kind of show you. We're working some of that into our engineering graphics class. If you're taking is anybody enrolled in the online engineering graphics class? Yeah, at the end, there's like a final project. You can actually design something that you can then make over there. We have kind of an arrangement with them, so you can kind of see that in action, make something actually real. It's really cool. And it's many things. And so many things. This is why it can be really overwhelming when you think about majoring in engineering. And math and science are kind of one of the core things. So anyway, that is the end of the lecture. Anything come up that people? Any questions on that? Yeah, of course.
Offer that in other engineering class in person?
The graphics class? Yeah, there's a in-person section of graphics offered in the spring. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Same teacher's going to be teaching it. Sorry?
Is it the only spring? Is it only offered in the spring?
The graphics class?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's doing an online section this fall. And the classroom section is offered in the spring. Yeah. Yeah, you took it?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really good. Good. Well, why don't we, let me see. What I kind of thought would be good before we start and tackle the design challenge is what I'd like to do is go around and have people sort of introduce yourselves. And I think what I'd like to do is kind of record a little bit about what you're into, and a little bit more. So each person kind of gets to speak. And I thought we'd maybe go around the room, maybe starting with Corey. We'll just kind of go, well, actually, we'll kind of go down there and then come around back up here, kind of thing. Does that sound good? So you all get a chance to just sort of say hello, introduce yourself to the class, and maybe share why you're interested, what kind of subjects you're interested in, and yeah, that kind of thing. So Corey?
My name's Corey. I worked in the construction field for like 5 years.
Cool.
And then wanted to study more of the engineering part of it, structural design and stuff. So that's really cool.
So like you're interested in like structural engineering?
Yeah, and civil.
Civil, yeah. Because yeah, you've been working on the sites where they're building stuff, and you're probably wondering how they actually design those things, right?
Yeah. I'm working on like really cool projects. And
what kind of projects were you working on?
like one over at Rivera, just houses, but
yeah,
like all metal, steel, engineered, and deep windows.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, Yeah, it's pretty cool. So,
Yeah, building industry is just really yeah, it's very diverse.
especially,
Fascinating.
yeah.
Totally, yeah. The money involved, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me. I'm also going to sort of do a little notes in my. You don't have to sit anywhere, but for today, what I'd like to do is I'm going to be taking some photos too as you're working with your group and stuff, and I want to just sort of start to get to know your names. That's a big challenge for me and stuff. So I'm just going to sort of indicate a little bit about where you are and. Cool. Thanks, Corey.
My name is Victor.
Okay.
I originally was trying to be a teacher.
Really?
I felt like engineering is more broad and there's definitely a lot more opportunities involved in engineering. I'm still planning on being a teacher, maybe later on in the future after engineering. Engineering is very interesting and apply to this class to know more about it.
That's really cool. Yeah, a lot of great opportunities in teaching engineering. Yeah, we need good engineering teachers. It's hard to find sometimes. Thanks. You want to go start on the wall towards the center?
My name is Brett. Doing this class
Did you say Brent?
yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
I really have an idea of what I really want to do, and I like some stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew engineering had opportunities, so I just took it to get an idea of all the different fields.
Cool. Okay.
My name's Daryl. I'm taking this class because I really like science and math, and I'm really interested in like how the mechanical aspects of physics.
Cool.
My name's Renee. Either civil or electrical. Right now it's electrical. I just in high school and I entered physics when we were working with certain stuff because it interested me a lot. So that's all.
Cool. Hi.
Hi, Sarah. I just recently started being interested in engineering. I was like, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Alvaro. I graduated high school. So, I want to like find a career that I want to do in my life. You know, like one of the options for like engineering,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I just want to see I just want to see what I can get out of it.
Cool.
My name is Ryan. I just graduated high school too. I moved from LA to here actually, and I'm interested in engineering, just like computer engineering and software engineering. For the reason like I want to create video games later. I'm interested in computers and technology, how things work, and I'm interested in seeing how technology is moving so quickly and so fast.
Yeah.
Interested in
It is crazy. It's just going so fast. It's just amazing. Cool. Next, yeah.
My name's Aaron. I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years as a electronics technician. So I was mostly just like fixing and maintaining, kind of like interested in designing.
Uh-huh.
And stuff.
Are you interested in like electrical engineering then, or other fields too?
Yeah, I like cool.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping to really get to understand like different fields of engineering.
Yeah.
Really good companies.
Sure. Cool. Okay.
And Brandon, I'm interested in quite a few fields of engineering that belong to aerospace and robotics.
Cool.
My name is Ethan. Very separation and now looking at place that I'm about to comments. So continue facing the problem.
Cool. Okay. Yeah.
Morning, lots of my work. What would be fascinating and interesting in knowing
who the people that social figures, roles, and other sitting here, then it's history.
Jorge, are you listed as Jorge? Oh, there you are. Yep. Cool. Great. Okay. Next. Cool. Molecular or bioengineering. Yeah. Like Santa Cruz has a biomolecular engineering program, I think. That's what you're thinking of? Yeah. Fascinating. Okay. Brenda. Okay, why don't we go, yeah, the guys in the middle?
Joseph, is interested in mechanical and computer engineering.
Okay. All right, Jahi?
My name is Jahi. I'm interested in electrical and chemical engineering.
An really interesting background, yeah. Yeah. What was your name again? And, right, good.
I got really fascinated with like Jurassic Park.
Uh-huh. Did they develop Jurassic? So is that an amusement park? I'm actually not. For the movie, they actually used a robotic thing. Huh? It wasn't just CGI. Huh. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah, over there. Okay.
Hi, my name is Tim. I kind of just chose this class just to figure out if electrical and computer hardware engineering was my thing.
Cool. All right. Yeah, we're going to have a final project involving a robotics kind of thing. That's what we usually do. Although that we can change it too. But I think it's always really fun to play with. Anytime you can play with robotics, you got programming, you got mechanical stuff. Anyway, it's sensors. Yeah, it's really cool. I really love robotics.
My name is Merritt. I'm interested in civil engineering. Specifically, I like to work on dams and hydropower.
Cool. Wow. That's really specific. That's cool. Yeah.
And Mark, when I was a kid, I really liked video games, and so it inspired me because I wanted to make my own. Tried it, hated it. But I found out I did like coding, and so I figured, well, let's see if computer engineering is right for me.
Wait, you like coding, but you hated making video games? How did that work? I mean, you would think usually like people that want to make video games, don't like coding, so that they stop doing that. But if you can code, it seems like you'd be just too. Was it too? Just not as fun as playing it?
Not that. It's just that it's a lot more. It just
about the art.
It's just a lot more. Yeah. It's just a lot more of the graphical interface that
Not as interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I've done a few internships at NPS, and I've been doing, analyzing data and things like that.
Yeah.
But when I try making a game, you have to actually have stuff displayed on the screen, and
Yeah.
I found that so much of a headache that I just
Yeah.
didn't do that.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. Cool.
My name is Ronnie. I've always been interested in building things and taking things apart, and always read that engineering paid well and there were a lot of jobs, so I thought I'd give it a shot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Patrick, I'm trying to find you here. Oh, there you are.
My name's Antonio, and I took the class just because it was a major requirement. And I already kind of know what field that I want to get in. I've always liked coding. Wasn't very good at it originally, but I've gotten a bit better since I first started. Just liking it more and more the more I do it.
Coding?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay.
My name's Matt, and I actually used to be a music major, but that didn't really pan out so well, so I decided to go into kind of an engineering major, and I'm still kind of new to it, but I've always enjoyed problem solving and trying to do it as efficient as possible. I'm kind of hoping this class will expand like that.
You're not the first music major that's come through here.
No kidding.
Yeah. We've had people that had degrees in drama and other things, but there was a young woman a few years back. She had gotten her bachelor's degree in music from Arizona, and I don't know. It's hard to make a living, right, with a music degree. Yeah. That's probably the biggest problem of all. Even though everyone would love to play music. So she went from a bachelor's degree in music to she started actually for some reason. I think it was she went from that to working as a wildland firefighter. So, I mean, this is a woman who was she was very, and she didn't look like the kind of person that would be really hardcore, but she would just she was kind of really laid back and stuff, but she just was working in wildland firefighting, doing that, and then I think she realized that she was maybe not cut out for it because, I think she was not as able to lift as much stuff, and she was afraid that maybe the firefighters would have to kind of drag her along sometime. Anyway, so she left that field, but she got involved with our marine technology program. That if you're interested in a really cool, if you like to go out and explore, we have these. So we have a marine technology center on our campus. We used to have a program that you could get a study in, but it was really hard for some reason. I think that just didn't get a lot of marketing or something, and they had to kind of fold that. But they do these yearly competitions in underwater robotics, and if you're interested in just kind of doing something like that, teams can have formed here in the past to kind of participate in those. But they also set people up with internships, and in particular, there was one really cool internship that Rachel actually signed on to, which was working with Robert Ballard in the Mediterranean. And does anybody know who Robert Ballard is? He's the guy that led the expedition to discover the Titanic. This was 15 years ago now, 20 years ago. It's been a while. They discovered that thing, right? But they had those underwater robots that they dragged all back and forth the North Sea, wherever it was, to be able to find that thing. And then they explored the Titanic. He's like an underwater archaeologist. She got to go on an expedition with his crew across the Mediterranean. They were looking for artifacts from ancient, Roman and Greek, water traffic lanes, and they were exploring all that stuff. And she was doing a lot of the upkeep of the ROV, a lot of tech type stuff, maintaining the thing and doing a lot of, hands-on work. They loved having her there, and the engineers there said, if you really want to do this, she's like, maybe I should just do this for the rest of my life. They're like, no, what you want to do is you want to go back and get an engineering degree. And so she came here to kind of start her engineering degree, and she's gotten her. I think she's wrapping up. Because she has a bachelor's already, she had to go get she was able to go to a private school. She went to USC to get a second bachelor's in engineering, electrical engineering. And she's now working for General Atomics near Lancaster. I'm not sure exactly what she's doing, but it looks like some pretty cool stuff. And we're going to have, I think, a visit, because she kind of hooked us up, a visit from her, some people from her company are going to come over at one point and kind of talk to us and see what they do. Starting with music, right? You have no idea where it's going to take you. That's a cool thing. Thanks. Hi.
My name is Raul. I'm a software engineer major. I'm going to do my own applications one day. And I'm interested in mechanical engineering, so I found in this class, hopefully for it to teach me a little bit more about it.
Did you say you already are a software engineer, or you're okay? You're interested in software and mechanical. Okay, that's awesome. Oh, there we are. Okay.
So my name is George, and before I came into engineering, I was previously doing computer science, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. So I came into this class just to see if it'd be more interesting. I don't know anything about engineering. Just curiosity.
Yeah, good.
My name is Sanselo. Throughout high school, I did engineering, so I worked with a few of the programs, like the 3D printers, the laser cutting, all that.
Yeah, cool.
And mostly, if I can work with it with my hands, I'll probably do it. So that's what brought me into engineering.
Nice. Cool. Well, thank you. That's great. Yeah. So I've already kind of talked about me. I was kind of myself interested in science and physics and stuff, and then when I got to school, I kind of learned about engineering, and it's really fascinated by computers. So we are going to do, in the remaining part of the class, we're going to do the paper tower contest. And this is a team project, and I'm going to hand out a piece of paper and a pair of scissors and like a yard of tape. I will be dishing that out while you start your design process. And pull this thing up here as well as, oops, hand out this thing. You're going to build the tallest freestanding tower possible from a sheet of paper. And let's just pass this stuff around while we start thinking about how that's going to work. So groups of 2 or 3, no more than 3, please. So the tower is going to be constructed only of one piece of paper and one foot? Wait, I thought it was 3 feet. 1 foot. No, it's just going to be 1 foot. 1 foot of masking tape, scissors, a ruler, and a pencil. Why did we do something else that had tape that much? I just thought I had a meter of tape. Huh. That's pretty funny. All right, well, it's just 1 foot. So everyone's going to have the same thing of Scotch tape. And I don't have any pencils, so hopefully you have a pencil. You can use I guess you can use the pencil in the tower if you want. No, the pencil's just for design work. Ruler's not going to be part of the tower, no. So the tower's going to be made of the paper and tape only. And you're going to use the scissors and ruler pencil to design it. And 45-minute period, it's going to be a little less than 45 minutes. And we're going to kind of call it in about half an hour. So that clock is sometimes a bit off. Yeah, we'll call it about half an hour. Flowers have to stand for 15 seconds, and then the highest tower wins, and has to be able to freestand. And there'll be a first and second place prize, which I'll award on Thursday. Yeah. Okay, any questions? Oh, on the back side you can sketch some ideas, so it's kind of a design part, while I get you the materials, and have a discussion on your team mates about which way to go, and maybe only give yourself like 5 minutes to move on, and 20 minutes to do the construction. You got to go fast because we only got 30 minutes. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be exactly the same.
Yeah, if we cut the tape and we mess it up,
Let's say we cut these
if you're royally messing with things,
a little square base, and then we're
As long as we have a strong base.
yeah, we just need a strong base, because after that we can just how do you guys make the base though? Because you guys can make a triangle base. The triangle base, yeah, and then just go up from there. Let's say it would look like that. And then from there, I guess we can just make this.
I don't think we have enough use paper on the paper.
Oh, it's just so. That's
So, first, we're going
If you do something like this, have the tower go up.
then we'll get a whole base and double.
As long as it's strong in the bottom.
Well, like, you can't get paper like this, but if you put
Yeah, and then I guess make the little triangle base and just put a lot of tape and make it whole.
Make a train in the bottom as a base. Here, where you basically already have it, there'll be more another part here. Hold up to make the third side of the plane, right? And then maybe just cut like the tip off.
Okay, so wait, what if we go for like something that's leaning? So like if you make or I guess that would work.
We get this, right? Let's say we make the base is here. Cut this way, we have all that square.
So just say
We have this much tape.
That's a pretty decent tower, and it's pretty strong.
I've done this before. I never
I don't think we're gonna do that.
Yeah, but
not a structural like integrity test. It's just that how high can you get it?
Yeah, that's great. It's just making sure you Oh, that's like for. Oh yeah.
Such a tennis ball, not using the tape.
But I think that's for like actual like.
I think this is if you're going to like take I don't laugh.
This is just structure. So we can.
Pretty much after
maybe we can trade like half of it. Just use that half
We don't need like a solar. It's in the pocket.
We cut it in half and leave the color long.
Are we worried about it? Are we worried about the
We don't even need to use that much tape. Like literally, we can just get this, cut it out, and make that. I think we need that. Oh, I mean, yeah, just cut that.
the base was just this.
Oh, yeah.
To cover the base.
Yeah, just make the base strong. I feel like that.
And the thing is it's going to be weak right here where we see like where would we go from here?
I was thinking this.
I'm actually going to use this as a piece of paper.
See, that's what we did.
Anything like that. Yeah, just try it. Okay. I don't know if I actually get it.
So you get this from what you can even do, like you need this.
Any questions on the rules? But if you want to, I will allow you. Here's the thing I think that might be helpful. If you want to, you can tape it. You can tape it to the table.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
You have like can't do it to the ceiling. You have to tape the table.
I mean, we can
standing by itself.
Take that so kind of hold out.
okay, so
Somebody should be something like leaning on like a strong structure. And
yeah, we can make it.
We mean it. Let's say we mean like this is a high school, compared to like we try to keep it as stress we can.
Yeah, but I'm saying you have to leave it at like some of the angle. You have to put all the stress here, and then just that whole here.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is
Like,
do this.
We can try that.
you only get one attempt and you start messing.
You guys wanna go for that?
He has an idea, so what's your idea?
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, what are you doing?
So it's gonna let's go with that. And then support it. Well, let's try to make it as let's say let's use this.
We only got 20 more minutes.
That so we have.
We only have 20 minutes. So you gotta do it. You want to make this the support?
Yeah, but it's gonna be like what we're gonna use as well as first second. How this like actually people receive what we're
Batch another one on top as well.
It's like low.
So like, this another one is just one.
Okay, so you would just like
Yeah, you just one is on top. You can do it like that.
No,
But point is, you just, as long as you know that through the
The only one that we're gonna use this as a triangle. You know this piece you have there, right? It's gonna be that. Yeah, so it's a smaller one, and we have more things to work on this.
So we don't have a certain amount of paper to use.
Yeah,
This is
this is it. Yeah, all this stuff.
All that we can do.
Make it small. And this is blank. We can't do that.
so like this on the inside.
Yeah.
So this is what we're gonna use.
I only got 20 minutes.
I have no idea.
I've done this before. You'll be surprised how high you can get it.
So, okay, so
Oh, I did this. I kind of forgot. I just remember like this, you can get it. Like,
I know you can.
Yeah, you can actually get it like surprisingly. Well, now we need something for like support, like maybe one or two.
It uses less paper than the
Let's use this as
So,
and it's also more stable than the. Okay, so
yeah, you can do
I'm gonna try to find out what the smallest. Actually,
I got 20.
well, I'm trying to think. What's the smaller?
use those. There's no more. Make a little
And I think it would almost be like 3/4 of this
Yeah.
size.
Stick as you can.
That's
This right?
So I don't know if we need to tape it to this. We can just get it to Leo. I'm not trying to rely on Leo.
Yeah, because then we're trying to put more on top. So.
I was thinking that they have like support, but then like you put it like flat like this,
And then you take that to I mean, we can use so you can put them around and go. So let's do two.
cut it like in half, so like
Just do it by half.
yeah, like just a little bit thick.
okay. Eventually, the problem is though we'll get too thin or that would be a long way. Well, no, but the paper itself.
When they're twisting it, doesn't ink
So that it'll stay. It's actually pretty easy because it basically what I was trying to say before. We just tape one side of each end.
Yeah, let's do two.
So we just need a little bit of tape so we can tape this shape that we want it to
We keep it V shape, but we don't have much. We get one where it's stand on. And then we switch to just doing something like this. And taping a side of each.
I wonder if we can actually keep this in the center.
I mean, yeah, you can take this, but like tape it in, so
just like kind of like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're so good. Then we're the upper. Let's see.
Actually, I don't need a
Pretty much.
I mean, I need a triangle base.
Once we get to that,
This is what we So then we should use the other stick to
So
like.
that way it doesn't
Building up there, I think that
doesn't go forward.
Okay, so we would do the and then at the very end.
Yeah.
So,
Might go forward with a little bit of.
you want this to go
Yeah.
down
Okay.
like that.
So.
but I agree with the half.
Oh, no, I see. It's too tiny.
Good idea. Yeah, we should test it with.
But use it anyway because.
Well, we still have plenty of trade. One more piece down here. Actually, yeah,
Yeah, try to make a hole. And I mean, we can tape it here so we know we can put a hole. meet up. And we would pretty much have this final script. It's a little smaller. Who knows if this will do anything good or
I honestly just even writing 3 squares. 3 squares work off. And use that. I think that could be good.
Okay, so with this final script, you would take these squares and mark them.
Yeah,
okay, you can use that as base, but now what about to go higher? I guess more scripts to make it go. I mean,
just so we can get an idea.
Getting the same dimensions.
No, I'm just trying to think.
I don't know how to do it.
And that's pretty good because as soon as it gets heavier, when it goes longer, it's going to want to get taller. So the little base on the bottom is going to hold.
You cut this and take the base down.
Keep in mind there's going to be some because we don't want it to
Like, you know how it's like a little triangle?
which is pretty
Well, it's a little triangle. So,
good.
yeah, we're the side. And this is kind of like I mean, if you wanted to be stable, that one in case it falls. You can take those and
Still can.
yeah, and then you can push this even down so you know it's gonna hold and I'll just do it.
Screw that little hole.
But I mean, you can still poke it in so you know it's in the
Well, no, because now it's going to be sitting lower. This circle is I feel like it's going to hold a lot better than a hole.
The circle is definitely like
Hey guys, look at
Yeah,
that.
so we just take this down then.
Look at that. Stand 15 seconds.
oh, we'll see.
Yeah, let's take this down.
Like we can't just figure
Okay, they have time already. It's good for 15 seconds.
What's square?
They don't mess around.
We just go on instinct.
Alright, now we're trying to
We want to tape it here like so. So it's like we want it to lean on this, otherwise it's kind of pointless.
That way the beam helps us grade this thing.
12 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Alright, how to make it bigger.
So all we have to do now is just take more of these and poke it in holes.
You want to do triangles or?
Well, yeah, because like if we keep this up, right, this would go to here. All we can do is hope.
Yep.
I mean, if this doesn't work,
Or we could be, I mean, it's going to cost us some paper, but we could be using, like, instead of using the whole strip all the way to the tip for it to fall right away, we have the stronger base in the middle, put the other one right in the middle.
I say we just make it.
So you got 10 minutes to exceed 80%.
Square here.
Yeah, it is. I mean, unless you want to do like the opposite, more.
I wonder if that's it up here.
Or like this. Yeah, so once you get it,
The paper,
I didn't even want to push it all the way in.
Yeah, it can't be safe. You don't want to be safe. I just want to take that in there.
And then we can put the other one on the other side too.
Yeah.
We'll make it a little small.
So how many can we make?
We're just gonna cut like little sticks.
Maybe we can make 2 more, assuming they all hold.
Only 10 minutes, guys.
I think you have to tape a little bit more to the center.
That's gonna fall already.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it's not tape, that's
yeah.
How do we tape this?
Like right on the center, like on top of this.
Oh,
I see. We have lots of tape.
Okay, you just keep it there.
I'll wait till we get them all cut out.
We can see the other side as well. Oh, I got tape on my. I feel like I have more tape than paper.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's not
And then the other one on top.
Going the other way this time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Saves some type.
This is how I get your names down.
So we don't even tape
Instead
it
of
here.
doing that,
Taping
we
that
chose to
close.
try to make it.
Yeah, just
I mean, we'll see. Wait till we have it.
No, I just.
I mean, we have this.
I would imagine working a little more shape for the lower parts.
Yes. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that much, right? You think that's good?
Yeah.
Each of the lighters.
Oh, right.
Okay, now you. So,
Whatever it's got.
Hold it over. I was gonna start like.
I felt like we should let the base this thick and then just kept from
I don't think we
there.
need to break the piece, but I think.
Okay, so it's not gonna be. This is a set of property. You can cut this piece in half. Hey, hey, Holland.
I mean, we can cut another piece, another thinner piece, put it on top, and then just whatever's left. That's it.
Where's the other two?
Yeah, we have our shit in the
You can
tape.
just put some right there and there.
Oh, wait. So we have it leaning this way. So what if we put tape like right here and holding it to the table? Tape too.
Can be
Okay, I think that's what we need for the
It's failing right here. So put like tape here and then tape right
I'm
here.
gonna go ahead
Do you cut this one? You gonna cut this up?
No, just.
so where I think it's.
This isn't even holding anything.
Not anymore.
It
was good.
Good theory. Like in concept, it sounds like a good idea. Jam that piece of paper back in there and just measure it. Hopefully,
Even without